Hi guys, I wanted to talk to you a little about when we would train shoulder internal rotation strength. We got a question on Instagram Q&A and I thought it deserved a little bit more attention than a minute would allow. So one of the things that we have to think about is not so much strength but motor control. When you are talking about internal rotation of the shoulder, you have your pecs, you have your lats, you have those big muscles that all have more distal attachment on the humerus. They attach a little bit further down on the shaft. Conversely, you have your subscapularis, which attaches right up on the humeral head as one of your rotator cuff muscles, and it controls the motion of the joint as opposed to the big stuff. So when we're working through stuff, whether it's extension or adduction or internal rotation, your subscap has to work really hard to basically keep up with some of those bigger muscles that tend to create more kind of movement around in the joint. So one of the things that we would do assessment-wise to actually figure out when we need to train this is we'll actually measure passive internal rotation. So for Kyle, we're gonna take him to about 10 degrees of horizontal adduction, stabilize the scapula. He's a little bit more hypermobile, so you realize he's got close to 80 degrees of internal rotation. Then we wanna flip him over. We wanna see if there's a difference between that passive range of motion and what he can actually control actively. So we're gonna slide a little bit to your left. We're gonna support him here. I'm gonna make sure he doesn't move anywhere, so we're gonna keep him nice and centered. Don't want you to actively pull into internal rotation. So you realize for him, he really only is able to get to about 45 or 50 degrees. So the difference between that 80 degrees and that 50 is gonna be 30-degree window. So we never wanna have a lot of passive range of motion that we can't control actively, and that's where doing some direct motor control training into IR matters. My favorite exercise for actively training internal rotation, particularly in our throwing athletes, is a prone internal rotation. You realize we've got a pad right here at the front of his shoulder, half roller, but you can use a towel or a sweatshirt. And basically what it's doing is it's pushing his humeral head back. So in other words, as he internally rotates, lats, pecs can't glide him forward in the joint. And instead we want to keep this ball centered on the socket. I'll tell him, imagine there's a rod going through your elbow right up to the shoulder. Keep the elbow down in front, and I want you just to internally rotate from that position right there. Don't pull down with the lat, stay right centered. And we're just gonna try to internally rotate up to his end range position. One of the things you'll see Kyle doing is kind of actively pulling up. I prefer to keep guys down a little bit more, just like we want the elbow out in front of the shoulder during layback throwing. We want to teach him good internal rotation with the elbow out in front.